What about your body did you think was totally normal until you found out it wasn't? Horrible intestinal/stomach cramps in the mornings. Not every morning, but definitely most. Visual snow. When it's dark, the world basically looks like an old TV with bad reception. Exploding head syndrome. Just recently learned it's a sleep disorder. I thought it was just a random thing that happens to everyone. I never understand why a lot of people struggle with their wisdom teeth, because I never had any problem with them. Turns out I'm completely missing all 4 of my wisdom teeth. I'm missing even the tooth seed, don't know the proper term in English, so they can't grow out. I born that way. Wiping and wiping and wiping and wiping and wiping. Turns out I have Crohn's. Son sneezes. Turns out it's a recessive gene that I think about 25% of people have. Torus palatinus. A bump in the roof of my mouth. Only like 25% have it, I think. Edit, I fat-fingered palatinus. I see some other endo ladies in this thread, so I will add mine. I thought everyone just had random patches of bright red skin, like a birthmark, that would itch and bleed sometimes. I have a small red spot on my elbow that swells up and bleeds, and it took me a long time to see the pattern in it, and even longer to be diagnosed with endometriosis and confirm that I was indeed menstruating out of my elbow. Hypermobility in the joints. It is not in fact normal to be able to turn yourself into a pretzel without warming up and is apparently bad for you. Even though it's just your normal range of movement. I had to relearn basic things like walking and exercising cause my muscles weren't actually doing any of the stretching. My joints were. I always thought my heart being funny after abruptly stopping exercise was something everyone experiences. Turns out I have supraventricular tachycardia. I can rumble my ears. Used to think everyone could do it. I can push my shoulder blade out. When I was a kid, I would swim around in the water and stick it out, pretending I was a shark with my fin out. I got 2 for you. I have tinnitus, like I just thought everyone heard that noise all the time. I have night terrors and sleep paralysis, literally just had one in fact. Fainting and vomiting on my period. Thinking everyone was always just extremely tired and had difficulty focusing on things, which is why people drink coffee and it gets talked and joked about so much. Turns out having both undiagnosed sleep apnea and ADHD takes that to a little more extreme level than other adults. After being treated, it was like unlocking a superpower compared to before. I pretty much always feel warm or hot, even when others are shivering or complaining cold. I have been to examinations and gone to lab to get my blood taken so many times. Turns out I have an ongoing inflammation in my body that cannot be treated. I also get tired faster for it. Nothing wrong with liver, thyroid, etc. I don't have diabetes or heart condition. Everything is okay, except my CRP is always up, even when on medication. It's been this way since childhood. Alice in Wonderland syndrome. When you grow up with something like that, how do you even begin to put it into words? So weird that clearly everyone has this thing where their hand feels like the size of the room, as just one example, but no one says it out loud because they would sound silly. Also happens a lot when I'm focusing on a book, and I fall into the lines on the page. Or when I was learning how to play piano, I would be surrounded by the sheet music, and that's so hard to explain. I have a really weak pain response. I don't have like a crazy high tolerance, it just straight up doesn't trigger an emotional response from me for the most part. I thought other people were just faking for attention because they learned it as children. I broke my arm one time, stood up and saw it was crooked, and just got annoyed that I was going to have to go to the hospital and spend all day there. Lots of things like that. I'm allergic to cold. My skin gets swollen, itchy, red, and bumpy. I used to think that happens to everyone. Apparently not. My feet going white, or even blue/purple, and numb when it was a little cold, think low double to single digits in Celsius. It's happened for so long that I thought it was normal for years. I thought everyone's feet went like this in the cold. Then my fingers started going white in the cold too, and that's when I realized that actually, maybe what I was going through wasn't normal. A couple of trips to the doctor later, turns out I have Raynaud's. I was well into my 30s before I discovered I had astigmatism. I thought everyone saw star patterns while driving at night. My thumb bends backwards, almost 90 degrees, grinning face with sweat. Precordial catch syndrome. When I was young, I thought everyone could bend the top joints of their fingers. Turns out I'm super double-jointed in my hands. Now I like to point at people by holding my index finger straight up in the air and then pointing the top joint right at them slowly. It looks super weird and freaks them out, lol. 2 of my toes on each foot are more webbed than they should be. Aphantasia. When people said, picture a thing, I thought people were just thinking about the general concept or a memory of the thing like I did. Turns out people can make pictures in their minds. I had no idea. When I close my eyes, I just see black. Having a mental image of time. Time of day of the week, month of the year, etc. Turns out it's a form of synesthesia. Really freaked me out when I asked a bunch of people and they all looked at me like I was a crazy person. That everyone's brains just had constant thoughts all the time that they couldn't always keep up with, just going like a hamster on a wheel. Like my brain never has a quiet moment. Yeah. Turns out I'm autistic. I thought everyone faked kicking when the doctor tapped the bottom of the knee. Turns out I don't have that reflex.